How do we determine what's beautiful? Is it society, nature, or God? Throughout history, humans have tried to answer these questions, and how we view beauty has changed throughout the ages. What we see as beautiful today hasn't always been the standard. In fact, the idea of the perfect female body has changed dramatically through history. Each era had its own version of fitness, health, and beauty. So let's take a journey through time and discover how the female body has been perceived and treated across different eras. Ancient Greece, the birthplace of Western civilization, had an intense fascination with the human form. The ideal woman was soft, curvy, and balanced. The female form was modeled after goddesses like Aphrodite. She was celebrated for her rounded hips, small waist, and gentle proportions. These women were viewed as symbols of fertility and femininity. They were often depicted in sculptures and paintings with full, luscious bodies. The focus was on the feminine qualities of the body. Strength and athleticism were not emphasized. Back then, fitness wasn't about working out or lifting weights. It was about harmony and balance. Women weren't expected to be athletic. However, some women from noble families might swim or dance to stay active. But that was more about grace than gaining muscle. A healthy woman was one whose body reflected grace and divine proportion, not strength. It's important to remember that the culture and norms surrounding beauty and fitness were very different back then. Ancient Greece had a unique perspective on what was considered attractive and healthy. Ancient Egypt, located thousands of miles away, had its own distinct take on the ideal female body. Here, beauty was closely tied to cleanliness and health. Egyptian women paid great attention to their appearance and would use natural oils, scrubs, and herbal mixtures to maintain soft skin and a fresh scent. They believed that taking care of their bodies was a way to honor themselves and their gods. The ideal body type was slender with narrow shoulders and a high waist. Women with a smaller frame were often seen as more attractive and feminine. While there were no specific beauty standards regarding weight, women generally aimed to maintain a slim figure. Fitness was more about flexibility and elegance than about muscular strength. Many women engaged in activities like dance or yoga to stay limber and graceful. This was not only to enhance their physical attractiveness, but also to promote overall health and well-being. In ancient Egyptian culture, women's roles extended beyond domestic duties. They participated in religious rituals, managed households, and even held influential positions in society. However, their physical strength was not a defining factor in their roles or status. Rather, it was their beauty and grace that were highly valued. In ancient Egypt, a woman's value was not solely determined by her physical prowess. Instead, she was appreciated for her overall appearance and demeanor. Being fit was more about having a flexible and elegant physique than about being strong or athletic. The Middle Ages in Europe saw a significant shift in the perception of the female body. As religious influence grew, beauty became less about the body and more about virtue. The ideal woman was modest and pale with a rounded figure. This was because most women were now confined to domestic roles. Women were expected to bear children and manage households, which often led to fuller figures. A fuller body was seen as a sign of wealth and fertility, while thinness could suggest poverty or hardship. Interestingly, peasant women who worked physically demanding jobs fetching water, farming, bearing children were strong and fit. But their strength was not praised or valued in the same way. The emphasis was still on the idealized feminine figure. For these women, fitness was a matter of survival, not a trend or a choice. Their bodies were strong due to necessity, not vanity or societal pressure. It was a different time with different values and perceptions of the female body. During the Renaissance, curves were glorified like never before. Women were portrayed in paintings with full hips, soft stomachs, and ample breasts. Beauty meant abundance. A round, well-fed body reflected wealth, fertility, and sensuality. This was the era of goddesses like Venus, and women were celebrated for their voluptuous forms. Health and fitness were not really the goals. It was more about appearing lush and indulgent. Thinness was seen as a sign of poverty or illness. Women weren't really expected to exercise. Leisure and comfort were more desirable than physical activity. The focus was on appreciating and even idealizing the female body in all its fullness. It was a time when art and culture celebrated the beauty of the female form without the pressure of strict fitness standards. In the 18th and 19th centuries, beauty began to shrink again. The Victorian-era was obsessed with small waists, pale skin, and dainty features. Corsets pulled waists into impossible sizes, often damaging women's ribs and organs in the process. Fitness was not encouraged. Women were expected to be delicate, soft-spoken, and fragile. Even sweating was considered unladylike. Exercise, if done at all, was light walking or horseback riding, but never enough to build muscle. Muscular women were considered masculine, and health took a back seat to appearance. It was a time when women's roles were largely confined to the domestic sphere, and their physical strength was not valued or displayed. The emphasis was on maintaining a fragile and delicate appearance, which was considered synonymous with beauty. But with the 1920s, something drastic happened. The flapper look changed everything. Women began to reject the corset, cut their hair short, and embrace a more androgynous body. The ideal became slim, straight, and boyish flat chest, narrow hips, long legs. This was a time of rebellion, freedom, and motion. Women danced, smoked, and started to embrace public life. Exercise was still minimal, but bodies began to move differently, less restricted, more free. It was a departure from the corseted, constricted women of the previous decades. This new look symbolized a shift in women's roles and attitudes towards their own bodies. The focus was on youthfulness, rebellion, and a rejection of the old standards of feminine beauty. In the 1950s, curves returned with glamour. Hollywood stars like Marilyn Monroe embodied the new ideal, an hourglass shape with a full bust, narrow waist, and rounded hips. Beauty was polished and feminine, but still carefully controlled. Women were encouraged to watch their figure with diets and girdles, not workouts. It was a time when women were largely confined to domestic roles, and their primary value was often linked to their appearance and sexuality. The emphasis was on achieving a particular type of feminine beauty that was often unattainable for many women. By the 1980s, the fitness revolution began. Aerobics classes, home workout videos, and flashy gym clothes took over. For the first time, women were told to exercise for appearance, not just health. The ideal became toned, slim, and energetic. Muscles were okay if they were small, defined and feminine. It was a time when women were increasingly entering the workforce and their public image mattered. The emphasis was on achieving a fit and active lifestyle that was both fashionable and functional. And as we move into the early 2000s, the beauty ideal starts to fragment. The early 2000s brought an obsession with thinnest models with visible ribs, thigh gaps, and low body fat. At the same time, the rise of the Kardashians popularized the slim, thick figure, tiny waist, flat stomach, wide hips, and large bust. This was a time when social media platforms like Instagram came into prominence and beauty standards became even more intense. The emphasis was on achieving a particular type of body that was often heavily filtered or digitally altered. Today, beauty standards continue to shift and evolve. There's a growing movement toward body positivity and self-acceptance, which challenges conventional beauty standards and encourage people to appreciate their bodies regardless of their size or shape. More women are lifting heavy, running marathons, embracing curves, or simply focusing on health over image. The definition of fit is expanding to include strength, endurance, mental well-being, and body diversity. But the echoes of the past remain. Every era had its ideal, and every ideal came with expectations, pressures, and limitations. So here's my question for you. How do you think our perception of the ideal female body will change in the future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, true beauty comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms. It's about embracing what makes you feel confident and comfortable in your own skin. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Your support means the world to me. Have a wonderful day and take care.